Hi everyone, my name is Hao-Fei, and I'm excited to talk about our work on soliciting stakeholders' fairness notion in child maltreatment predictive system. I am presenting this work on behalf of my wonderful collaborators, Logan, Ruiqi, Paige, Alex, Stephen, and Haiyi. With the widespread use of machine learning algorithms in various high-stake decision-making scenarios, the fairness of these algorithmic systems has drawn increasing attention. Fortunately, the machine learning community has proposed multiple approaches and criteria for fairness, which can be broadly classified into group fairness, which requires statistical property be equalized across groups, and individual fairness, which requires similar individuals be treated similarly by an algorithms. However, while these fairness criteria provide guarantees on their own, they are proposed by machine learning practitioners, and the stakeholders were not involved in the development of these criteria. Therefore, the fairness definitions may not reflect the viewpoints of these stakeholders. At the same time, these stakeholders are also the ones that will be affected by the outcomes of the algorithms. The main research questions of our study is therefore finding out which fairness definitions align with the stakeholders' viewpoint. To answer this, we developed a framework to elicit the subjective fairness notions of non-expert stakeholders. Our framework consists of two parts: an interactive interface that allows stakeholders to examine the data and audit the prediction made by the algorithms, followed by an interview protocol that probes the stakeholders' belief on fairness of the algorithms. Since fairness definitions are often complicated, the combinations of an interactive interface and interview will help stakeholders visualize and understand these definitions. We use child maltreatment predictive systems as the context of our study. Each year, there are millions of child maltreatment referral cases in the US, and call screeners have to make the decisions between screen in for investigations or screen out if the cases are low risk. Child maltreatment predictions is a high-stakes scenario, and a machine learning-based risk assessment tool was recently deployed in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania to assist with the decision-making. The algorithm is trained on past child referral cases, using features such as the age of the child and the information of the perpetrator. The algorithm predicts the risk level of each case, and call screeners make the final decisions after seeing the output from the algorithm. We conducted a study with stakeholders of the child maltreatment predictive system, which consists of 4 parents and 8 social workers. The interviews follow our fairness elicitation framework, which I will now go over. Recall that our framework had 2 parts: an interactive interface and an interview protocol. The first part of our interface is the group view, which allows stakeholders to define group and subgroups that they are concerned about and compare the algorithm performance across different statistical metrics. After seeing the algorithm performance, we asked the stakeholders if the group fairness approach is appropriate for the child maltreatment situation. For example, we asked if a fair algorithm should make high-risk prediction at the same rate for victims of different races, which correspond to the notions of statistical parity. Another interface is the case-by-case view. We show stakeholders pairs of cases at a time, and stakeholders can inspect and compare detailed features of each case. This corresponds to the individual fairness notion. We first show stakeholders cases without telling them the decisions made by the algorithms to collect their fairness notions regardless of the predictions of these outcomes, and understand the factors that they will consider when evaluating the cases. We then interview them by asking how they will prioritize the 2 cases for each pair, whether they should receive the same decisions, or if one of the 2 cases should be prioritized. Here are some highlights of our results. We found out that equalized odds was the most preferred group fairness approach among the stakeholders. One of the reasons is that equalized odds align with the existing fairness belief of the stakeholders, which is for the accuracy of the algorithm be as high as possible and as even as possible for all groups of people. At the same time, even though fairness is what stakeholders desire, they are also not willing to trade the accuracy in order to achieve that. For individual fairness, we found out that there are no unanimous agreement among stakeholders. For most situations, we see contentious opinions on how to prioritize the cases. We are able to identify a few reasons for the lack of agreement for individual fairness. First of all, stakeholders disagreed on the implications of several key features in child maltreatment, such as the victim's age. At the same time, Stakeholders also use fundamentally different heuristics to compare individual cases, which lead to different opinions on how the cases should be prioritized. Those are just some highlights of our work. You can find all the details in our paper. If you have any questions, feel free to email me and I would love to chat. Once again, I would like to thank all my collaborators for making this work possible. Thank you all.